You ever see a squirrel sprint past you, tail smoking, dignity in shreds, and realize, yep, it's going to be that kind of Saturday. I'm out back in Birch Ridge, coffee in one hand, garden hose in the other, watching tiki torches stagger into the trees like drunken soldiers after a county fair. And up on the hill, there's Patrice Delaney, our HOA president, self-crowned empress of the sightlines, raising a citronella torch like she's leading troops into battle, hollering, "Commence the view restoration, not a joke." My coffee mug rattles from whatever blast they just set off. I blink, the squirrel blazes by, and 2 minutes later, so is Trish, sprinting full tilt because her precious pergola, the one she bragged about for months, just turned into a 5-alarm inferno. I'm Marcus Hale, software engineer, lover of cedar decks, rescued beagles named Biscuit, and those sacred Saturday naps where you drool a little and nobody cares. I moved to Birch Ridge for the old oaks trees that make you forget you're boxed in a subdivision and not living in a forest sanctuary. I like things quiet. Trish. She likes rules, tape measuring my hedge on day one and declaring in her best town crier voice that my vertical greenery is a community hazard to vistas. She said vistas like we're in Tuscany, not some cookie-cutter slice of suburban America. Trish files violations the way normal people collect fridge magnets. No, I'm not making this up. Non-harmonious wind pattern because my chimes offended her delicate ear. Excessive leaf attitude. Still don't know what that means. Fence color moody because I picked walnut over honey oak. You know the type. So I smile, I wave, I pay the little fines and fight the ones that sound insane. My hobby, minding my business. Trish's hobby is minding everyone else's. Clipboard highlighter, steely resolve. You usually only see in people hunting war criminals. When the Improved Views initiative showed up, the pastel flyers had eagles, actual clip art eagles, soaring over bald hills, looking weirdly happy about all the missing trees. She called a mandatory clubhouse meeting, whipped out a 17-slide PowerPoint, and announced like she was at the Oscars that we suffer from canopy bloat. Selective clearing, she said, would reconnect us with sunsets. Laser pointer in hand, circling oaks and maples like they'd personally insulted her. This one blocks the western exposure. This maple causes shadow inequality. This walnut is aesthetically aggressive. Then she posted a volunteer sign-up for brush management. Not a single person signed. That poor paper flapped on the board for 3 days like a prom invite everyone's too polite to tear down. Next thing I know, 6 of us, including me, got fined for visual obstruction by native habitat. $50 because a tree older than the subdivision itself was blocking a sunset she could see perfectly fine from her kitchen. People start whispering at the mailboxes, and Dog Park Trish has hired landscape consultants, which is code for 3 high schoolers with weed whackers and a death wish. She buys bulk accelerant for mosquitoes, never mind it's the wrong season, and convinces Gerald, our timid treasurer guy, flinches when you say his name, that the budget covers controlled ambience fires. Gerald nods because Trish has a way of making disagreement feel like a personal flaw. I catch her in my yard one afternoon tying pink ribbons on saplings behind my fence like they stole her purse. I open the gate, ask what she's doing. She flashes that smile, the one that stops just short of the eyes, and says she's marking trees for aesthetic correction. I tell her those are my trees. She tells me property lines are a social construct when community beautification is on the line. I tell her to leave. She snaps a picture of my deck cushions, apparently not HOA compliant, mutters something about non-conforming color schemes, and finally slinks off. Then on a Sunday morning that any sane person would have called off because the fire danger warning had 3 red exclamation marks. Trish assembles her militia, 3 teens who'd rather be anywhere else. Douglas, the safety chair guy, who wears a bike helmet to check the mail, and Rick, whose idea of fire prevention is a leaf blower and a discount on his next violation. Trish lights a test patch. Small controlled burn, she announces. The flames eat dry brush demonstration turns into a runaway blaze, and suddenly her precious Tuscan-inspired landscaping looks like the set of a disaster movie. When the pergola catches fire, she calls 911 screeching about arson by homeowner in Lot 18B. Male with a hose aggressive watering possible eco-terrorist. That's me standing in flip-flops, watering my maple tree, like it's the only sane thing in this zip code. Biscuit wags utterly unbothered by the chaos. The fire trucks show up, one, then two, then three lights flashing, sirens shattering the morning. I point to the tiki torches still smoldering in a sad little parade. I point to the gas jugs labeled citronella with a hand-drawn smiley. I point to the HOA memo titled View Enhancement Burn duct taped to a stake like some deranged art installation. The fire captain, a woman with the 1,000-yard stare of someone who's seen it all, reads the memo, blinks twice, radios the fire marshal. 10 minutes later, he rolls up, looking 5 years older than when he left the station, and radio state forestry. Trish's ambience just became a multi-agency incident, acronyms, triplicate reports, the works. Marshall asks for permits. Trish produces a laminated authorization to improve aesthetics, signed, dated, and suspiciously notarized by herself. He holds it up, squints, and starts reciting legalese like he's solving a crossword. Unlawful open burning red flag conditions, negligent ignition near a structure, reckless endangerment of protected woodland. He's adding charges like toppings on a pizza nobody ordered. Then the HOA's insurance rep shows up looking at the scene like he's here specifically to deny any hope. He reviews the budget-controlled burn kits that are actually clearance tiki torches, receipts for citronella oil and fire starter cubes, asks, "Who approved these expenses?" Trish points at the board. The board, now huddled near the mailboxes, stare at their shoes. Gerald mutters about being on vacation. Pauline on her bike rolls up with her phone in the air. She's got video Trish rehearsing her pitch in the clubhouse mirror. Once the trees are gone, your Zillow will soar, property values through the roof. She'd practice multiple takes. The marshal watches, scribbles notes, turns to me, and I kid you not, says, "Mr. Hale, thank you for your garden hose and for not being insane." Biscuit wags. I nod. Fire crews get the blaze under control before it eats the woods. But not before it turns Trish's dream home into something out of a nightmare, smoke spewing from sawed holes in her roof. And right there with the cul-de-sac, watching Trish tries to hand the captain a citation book complaining the fire trucks are in a red curb zone. The captain ignores her, keeps giving orders. The insurance rep, now flanked by a state environmental agent with a badge and a folder thicker than a phone book, tells her unpermitted burns void the coverage. Full stop. He reads from her own emails accelerants to overcome damp wood ignition during red flag warning awareness of wind patterns. She basically wrote her own indictment complete with timestamps. The environmental guy tacks on fines for destroying protected habitat during nesting season, migratory birds, endangered salamanders. Every word adds a new $sign. The marshal serves her a summons, clipboard, carbon copy, and all. Embers float through the air like disappointed confetti. Someone starts a slow clap. It becomes a real clap. The board right there on the sidewalk votes to suspend Trish pending investigation. Gerald's hand shoots up like he's waited his whole life for this. Douglas nods so hard his bike helmet slips over his eyes he doesn't even fix it. The fines pile up: 25 grand for habitat destruction, 15 for burning during red flag, 10 for no permit, 5 for reckless endangerment. The insurance company slams the door. No payout, not a penny. Trish is left with a blue tarp for a roof, a $140,000 repair estimate, not counting landscaping or melted furniture, and a permanent note in the county records removed from all HOA leadership privileges revoked. Even her beloved clipboard gone. She stands there, face ashy, citations trembling in her hands, the laser pointer from her presentation rolling into a puddle of foam. And for the first time since I moved in, Trish Delaney has nothing to say. Not a word. No corrections, no violations, just silence and the sound of her consequences echoing down the block. So tell me, should a neighborhood's peace and sanity depend on one person's obsession with aesthetics? Or did justice finally catch up with the queen of the sightlines? Drop your thoughts below, share your own HOA stories, and don't forget, sometimes the best defense against crazy is just a garden hose and a little common sense. Hit subscribe if you want more tales from the front lines of suburbia.